favorite time of the week, where we put a bow on the week that was in Canadian soccer. And why not right after a Canada Day special with Halifax Wanderers celebrating back-to-back wins. They win their first match at home on the season. Ryan Telfer with the winner, 1-0 over Cavalry. Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson, Christian Jack with you. A little program we like to call
Match Night. Thank you,
we haven't done that for a while.
It's been a while.
Good to be back. Happy Canada Day to everyone out there. We start this show like we do every week with the Canadian Premier League. Before we look at Copa America, before we look at the Euros, the best and worst, all that's still to come. But your Match Week 12 results are in the books. 2 games were played on Thursday. Valor, another win. Couple of intriguing signings as well. 1-0 over York United, delivering Benjamin Mora's first loss in the Canadian Premier League. Our Eagles, Jordan Wilson, Vancouver FC, bounced back. Their 4th consecutive derby match win over Pacific. Wow. In what goes down as one of the best games we've ever seen in the Canadian Premier League, Atletico Ottawa at the death, a 4-3 win at home over Forge. And the match that you just watched, Telfer's winner helped Halifax beat Cavalry 1-0. So here's your up-to-date table. Look, don't let your eyes are not deceiving you. Cavalry's in 6th place right now, potentially in trouble. Halifax crawling their way back up out of the basement. They have a game in hand as well on that pack ahead of them, but Atletico Ottawa convincing, leading the way, 25 points through 12 games played. Let's start with a 1-0 victory for Halifax at home over Cavalry. A game really for both sides, a must-win. Halifax were looking for their first win at home. They got there through that Telfer winner. Let's start right there, Jordan. How big of a victory was this for Halifax here today?
It's huge. It's what they needed to be in the race, to be in conversation. That back-to-back win. Look, I'll just take 10 seconds to just talk about my moment. Playing for York United for 2 years in this Canadian Premier League, never won 3 in a row. Never won 3 on the bounce. It is very difficult to do. Halifax Wanderers, in my recollection of last season, only did it twice. That 3rd game you go and play, you usually lose. To get 6 points in 2 matches is very difficult, but they were there for it today, Wheels. They were on it. They were pushing forward. They had a bit of magic from Telfer. Did that nice slow step over, faced up on Klomp, and then just did that reverse and went near post. But for me, he's been that missing piece of someone just to be in form, KJ, and he showed up today.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot between the two sides. It wasn't a gripping contest. There wasn't too many chances in the game, and I think Cavalry would be absolutely dejected in the manner in which they gave up that goal. It's just a really, really poor goal to give away, a sloppy moment at that moment. I think as the game wore on, you could see the team that have been training at home all week against the team that obviously had a lot of travel concerns and a lot of issues getting there at that moment. It's a long travel as it is, long weekend, and you didn't get a chance to train in Halifax before it. You could just kind of tell. But that takes nothing away from the Wanderers. You could see what it really means to them. They've had a difficult time. But we talked about in the pregame show, another win, the value of it. There's a reason why you get 3 for a win and only 1 for a draw. You keep getting wins, and suddenly in the congested CPL table, where really apart from one team, a lot of teams are really struggling for consistency. Don't look now, but Halifax only 4 points back of Cavalry with a game in hand.
Yeah. Here come the Wanderers. Like, they were late bloomers last season. It took them a while to get going, but just everything seems more settled. Just seemed hectic. Everything was just the highs and lows and everything in between. It was just too much to start the season. You need that continuity, a little bit of consistency. They have found that. Cavalry haven't in terms of their squad, missing 6 or 7 really key players, really just 2 attack-minded players available in Warshevsky and Shaw. Now, all of a sudden, this team is just their 2nd loss of the season. But we're now in July, and the team that were runaway regular season winners from a season ago have 2 wins. And we're in the month of July. What's your level of concern? How problematic is Cavalry's form? Or perhaps it's their personnel and just how many changes this team makes on a week-to-week basis.
A bit of personnel, but we were speaking about it off air, and I think this is just valuable information as well. Like, they don't play bad, Cavalry. Like, I watch them week in and week out, and I'm not like they're having an underwhelming performance. I just think in the game of football, you need some killers. You need some guys that are cutthroat, that are going to win you games. And I think they had momentum last year in Ali Musi or Camargo. It just hasn't been the same this season. So I'm worried. I think we can count the 13 blowout and winning off the table. But I feel like they'll make playoffs, no doubt. But in terms of the same Cavalry that we see, yeah, I think they're there, man. With their quality on their side, I think it's going to... Obviously, I'm hoping that their players come back. Like Musi, I want to see him soon playing for this side. But I can't... The quality within this team, I know today they had some players stepping in, but typically, this team is usually there, so I can't see them not making playoffs.
Yeah, I can't see that either. I think they'll be fine. The thing is, for me, is like what level is the expectations. Fine is not good enough for Cavalry, right? So, you know, when they drew up their squad planning at the start of the season and they had that Champions League and they had the Champions Cup and I'm sure Tommy Wheeldon Jr. thought, okay, I'll have Musi, I'll have Akio, I've got Bevan, I've got Waszewski.
I've added Gutierrez.
Got Gutierrez, and now Gutierrez is hurt, Akio is hurt, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be an easy fix for him to come back quickly. Musi's been injured for a long time. It's gone off the rails pretty quickly, and that's just football sometimes, you know. And so you got to adapt to that. And they're really in the mud right now. You know, they're in that moment where things are not going well, and when they've not played well, they've not lost until today. It's not an easy place to go. So look, I think they'll find a way to be fine, as I said. But you know, the team that wanted to come back and lift that shield again and defend it, it's looking like it's going to be very, very difficult.
That starting 11 today didn't look like a Cavalry 11 for me. There's one player that they haven't replaced, and it's Meyer Bevan. And I don't think he was the best player in the Canadian Premier League, but he played a very specific role for that side. They don't have like for like. Their attacking players all like the ball to their feet. No one's looking to play over the top. And they're far too easy to defend, guys. Like, they've scored more than one goal in a game twice this Canadian Premier League season. This was a team that would just punish you in attack last year, KJ.
17 times they did that last year, for reference. But you're right.
So do they need to go in and recruit? Do they need to go and bring someone in? Like, Atletico Ottawa's a better side. Forge is good. Like, there are good teams across the board in the Canadian Premier League. You can't continue on with this group, I don't think, and just expect to make the playoffs.
I think they'll make changes as much as they possibly can. But as I said, once everyone gets back, I think they'll be okay. I think defensively they've been very good. Yeah. You know, and like again, they should not have conceded. That's a terrible goal to give away today, and they'll know that. So you know, with all the discomfort that they've had getting there, the injuries that they've had, they could have got out of there today. It could have been 0-0, and we could have been saying unbeaten in 11. So you know, that's the margins, right? Fine lines in the game sometimes, but you're right. I think they need to make a little bit of adjustments. But defensively, I would say how you win trophies in playoffs is make sure that you can be pretty defensively solid. And right now, I think they're still okay.
But it's also a manager. His championship is winning the regular season. Called being in the final last year a bonus. Now that looks like the most likely scenario if they're going to go on and win a trophy this season. Because Atletico Ottawa, they're 11 points better than them right now. And another win, it was a Friday night special at TD Place in Ottawa, a 4-3 victory. Come from behind victory against Forge. KJ will give you some of the stats in a moment. It was thrilling. Lieberman Torres, after being a goat, playing a back pass that led to a Forge equalizer, scores in the 93rd minute. What a goal here by the former Forge man, Sissoko, as well. This game had a little bit of everything. My question to you, KJ, and you know the CPL better than anyone. Is this the best game in Canadian Premier League history?
I think it's got to be right up there.
Regular season history.
Yeah, regular season, obviously, of course. The amount of lead changes. I don't think it was the best game if you're a coach or a defender watching some of the mistakes that are happening in front of you.
Oh, that right there.
Yeah, that real drama. This is a big moment for me because when Poku scored, I thought, again, the storyline is once again Forge finding a way. What they did against Halifax this year, they continue to find ways, but then they let it slip, you know? And that, for me, is huge for two reasons. One, it just shows the grit and determination that I think Atletico Ottawa have this year, which they didn't have last year. The collective spirit that they have that they didn't have last year. And also, by the way, for record context, that's the first time ever Forge have lost a CPL game when they've been in the lead.
Wow.
First time
wild
ever.
stat.
I think
first
you
time
used
ever.
that stat a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, maybe I jinxed them.
Jinx?
Yeah, I think it's the second time in 134 games where they've scored 3 or more and lost and not won the game. So yeah, like for me, it's. Yeah, second time in 134 games that they've conceded 4 goals. And as I said, you know, when they score 3 or more, they don't lose. So that's an amazing record. But you know, for me, let's talk about the positives. The league leaders, Atletico Ottawa, what they're doing. They have a unit right now which is the opposite of Cavalry. Cavalry have made most changes to their 11 in CPL this season by 34. Ottawa have made 20. And by the way, 4 of them has been by the goalie and 5 of them have been the number 9. Yeah. The rest of the team picks itself every single week. And what Manny Aparicio is doing in that midfield, he is just an energizer, he's a winner, and he automatically drives that team forward. Bassett came off the bench in this game, so it just shows you the depth they've got.
The depth, and for me, I'm just I'm thinking about that 2022 final. Revenge. Like Atletico Ottawa, speaking to those players, seeing their faces, they all want to get back to the dance. To have a plummet last season, not even making playoffs, they're thinking they have to be the best team and they have to go all the way and maybe even win the double. I'm just grateful, Wheels, that there's a game that trumps the Labor Day Classic in 2021 where they gave up 2 pens and it's a 3-3.
That was a pretty special game.
That was special.
Game.
It was very thrilling, but again, watching it back, I look at my face and said, my goodness. But I'm glad this one was more exciting for me, at least, the 4-3 thriller.
Quickly, just
at
like,
TD Place.
If you think about their recruitment and the difference makers that have made already, when you go through it, you know, Ingham got hurt for a little bit. Yes, they came in, no problem. Right back, Tuadek's been excellent. Left back, Dibrien's been excellent. We know what they've got with Didic. Sissoko scores again. We talked about Aparicio. The recruitment right away of players just hitting the ground. Liberman Torres now comes in and he's scoring a goal. Yeah. And that says a lot about how quickly they've been able to turn it around. It was from a disaster last year.
Ambition, and they're living up to their words. They put pressure on themselves, quite frankly, the club.
Yeah, they did.
And now they're living up to it. Let's hear from their manager, Carlos Gonzalez, after this one, and what he's learned about his team through nights like this.
I think it has been a fantastic game for the fans, for the people that love this magical sport. But it's true that I've suffered a lot from the bench. You know, it has been a game in which we've conceded, they have conceded. It has been a game of mistakes. You know, remind me the game that we played last season against Forge in Hamilton that we lost 4-3, also in the last minute. So it was a similar game, but this time, I don't know, maybe that champion spirit starts to be more in us.
Champion spirit. The game that Gonzalez was addressing, the 4-3 loss last season, it was almost a year to the day. It was June 25th last year. This was played on June 28th. In fact, Atletico Ottawa have conceded 4 goals to Forge on 3 occasions. And for them to put 4 past this Forge side, who does it say more about? The champion spirit, you know, that's coming together in Ottawa, or does it tell you something about this Forge team, Jordan?
I think it says a lot about Forge. Of course, we could talk about Ottawa. I think we've done a pretty sufficient job already, but with Forge, this is a team that everyone always measures up against, right? 2 years I play in this league is like when you go to play Forge, you're at your best. You're making sure that your body's there, the mentality there, the pressure's all there. But for me, they're still doing this, and Forge is flirting with the top or second place without a number 9. Like, Poku has come in and stepped up, but I'm wondering, we're talking about this is the time of year where you really bolster your team and you get the players that you need. Are they getting another number 9? Is J-Hams coming back? Like, these are questions where I just want to know, because you're looking at a Forge side that should be at the top. They usually are there, but I feel like they need to add to the squad.
Yeah, and, you know, I think the development of teams in the Canadian Premier League, we sometimes have to quantify it differently to the way world football teams go. You know, for example, they made an investment in Christopher Colongo this year and said, we've lost Tristan Henry, we're going to go with Christopher Colongo. He didn't have his best night. But when you have a young goalie like that, sometimes you've got to let them fail and then get back up again. Away from home, defensively, I think for me, they've had some major concerns. They've got beat handedly in Ottawa earlier this season, 3-0. They got beat again by conceding 4 on the road to them. They should have got beat in Halifax. They scored a very late goal there to get a point from that as well. They drew at Pacific 0-0. They didn't do very well there. And they got really beat in Cavalry. It was only 1-0, but Bobby Sminiotis told us afterwards, just burn the tape, we were that bad. So their away form has not been great. And we all know now it's all building up to a big game against Toronto FC in 10 days. And they're not going to just want to switch, you know, turn the switch. They're going to have to turn it around against Vancouver at home.
I wonder if their eyes are being cast towards that a little bit. That's the big one that's circled on their calendar. And generally come end of September, October, this team runs into form. But you're right, they need it right now. Just a quick shout out, one of the Forge supporters, Alan, underwent a really scary medical episode this weekend. We wish you well, buddy. Hope that you're doing okay. One of the many great supporters of the Canadian Premier League. So we're wishing you all the best. The BC Derby was played again this weekend, and Vancouver FC came out on top yet again. What a bounce-back performance by Ashton Goppi's side, a team that lost 4-0 at home a week ago. Then they go on and beat their rivals, come from behind victory for them.
Bragging rights, I feel like this team really thrives on that, right? They came into this Premier League season starting saying like this is their time, like this is where the Eagles are, where the Eagles have landed. This is where they come. So when they go and they go to Starlight Stadium, I think they're all about bragging rights. KJ, they go into this game knowing that they want to be the best team in BC. They play that aggressive style. They play forward thinking. And they're just able to pick up points against the Pacific side. And I'm looking at Pacific as well. I think they need to kick it into gear because everyone's just kissing each other right around that 3rd and 4th and 5th place spot. They need to really get things going offensively.
Kissing each other.
Kissing.
Yeah. Make-out session.
Little hug, little kiss.
Mid-table make-out.
You guys give weekly love to Vancouver. So
yes.
I'll take the story to Pacific, and they need to figure this out fast. Because this is the biggest underachieving team in the Canadian Premier League this year for me. No doubt about it. They've got top players there. They've had issues in goal, but they've had no problems with form. They've just had a revolving door. Yates has been marvellous. TMG's been very, very good. You could go through the field, all players behind the ball. Young's had a pretty good season. They are letting themselves down in front of goal consistently. I think they've scored 8 in their last 10. And I'm watching this team, and they can't score more than 1 goal in the game. And you allow the other team to consistently get moments, and then you get burned consistently. They score penalties, they score set-piece goals, they get own goals. But from open play, if you defend against this Pacific team right now, Jordan, you're thinking, you guys can't score. They just can't score goals, and they're creating all these chances. And then you look at the coaching staff, and they're getting exasperated, and they're saying the same things every week. And don't look now, but a team this talented, they could fall out the playoffs.
Merriman is burning because the same thing he's saying this year, he was saying last year, Wheels. Like, he's taking the same rhetoric, the same thing he was saying to his team, looking for attacking players to go out and express themselves and have it work. And it hasn't worked. And this is what he was saying in 2023 all season long.
Interesting. We'll see which direction they go. Sometimes they just look like they're well worth it. Sometimes they just look far off the pace. Finally, Valor through Resurreção. We get some winner as Valor beats York United 1-0. An important win for Valor. I mean, they're on 10 points now, but they have a lot of home games to go and a couple of exciting signings. We said that there's all these great players in the province of Quebec, and we saw them play for Saint Laurent in the TELUS Canadian Championship. And Loic Quemi and Sophia Moua end up going to Valor. It's going to be a true test to see if players can seamlessly make that jump into the Canadian Premier League ranks. And this is a positive excitement, or builds positive excitement for Valor, a team with all those home games that's looking for a little bit of a spark.
First thing, watch out for Quemi. Boy can play, he can score, he has the physique. I think also he has the manager in Dos Santos that is smart and knows when to use him. Don't go maybe playing him maybe more than he should in the beginning, kind of ease him way into it. I think for a striker as well, getting goals or assists, you just feel acclimated in that city. If you ask Canadian Premier League players, the city or the place you don't want to go and play, it would be in Winnipeg. No doubt about it. Even with the new pitch, it's still a place you want to get in and get out and get your 3 points.
Take advantage of it, right?
They have to lean into that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this Valor side. They can make a climb. Like, wins mean so much in the Canadian Premier League because everyone is so close. So if they can keep it and take advantage of that home field advantage, they can maybe do something here, KJ.
Yeah, what a great weekend for them. They get the win. York lose, Pacific lose, Cavalry lose. Bingo. Suddenly now the league table, they're like, this is what we wanted.
Yes.
The second thing I'll just say is, to your point about the signing of these players from Saint Laurent, this is what happens in world football. This is what football culture is about. There is a pyramid, and you get your moments to impress, and this is why, you know, in an isolated moment, we can talk about knockout football and the surprises of what they did in the Canadian Championship games and all of this. This is why players play well in those moments, because they know that the spotlight is shining. We're giving them a spotlight on One Soccer. You brought to see the broadcast. And every credit, I mean, this is really close, by the way, but, you know, Valor know how to win games 1-0. They always have, better than most teams. They got to do it. But just wonderful to see that those players are we're not waiting 12 months. We're getting them now, giving them the chance to get in this league.
And you look at Alphonse for CS Saint Laurent,
again,
playing
another
for
one.
Halifax, right? Did so well. And then now playing for Halifax, you see him sub on today. Beautiful to see it come full circle.
Parity. There's just parity across the board here. It's Atletico Ottawa right now and everyone else, but that gap can close just like that. We know it. This is how the Canadian Premier League works. The Canadian men's national team, they're off to the quarterfinals of Copa America, and we know their opponent. We're going to break down that Friday night matchup. That's coming up next. This is Match Night right here on One Soccer.
Do we really have any choice at all?
Everyone has a choice, and every choice has a consequence.
Which do you choose?
Life's full of tough choices, isn't it?
How do you choose?
How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose? How do you choose?
Power doesn't sound like it used to. The all-electric ID4 with instant acceleration. Electric feels good.
Volkswagen.
This ultimate mouth-watering moment is brought to you by the big, bold, ultimate taste of Ultimate Chicken Hot Dogs, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
For a sport played with our feet, funny how lending a hand takes us further together.
There you have it. Canada, Venezuela, quarterfinal of the Copa America goes down Friday night, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Venezuela getting out as group winners in Group B. A little bit of a surprise ahead of Ecuador, who probably was odds-on favorite. I know a lot of Mexican fans are disappointed they're out of this tournament as well. So there you have it. Canada. Yeah, it's just...
They were bad.
Score a goal, KJ.
Couldn't buy a goal.
It was wild. Wheeler Wilson, KJ with you as we shine a light in the Oh Canada, Oh Baby segment right here on Match Night. KJ, you made your flight okay. You got out of Orlando. You're back here with us. Well done covering this team.
Thank you.
You saw them in the flesh over the weekend. What do you make of this Canada side and their chances against Venezuela this week?
Yeah, well, again, I think we always have to preface these things by saying that they'll believe they're going to win. And I think that starts with them, right? Regardless of what I think of them, we have to keep bringing up that there is real belief inside this camp, and it is genuine and authentic, that they were not even content with qualifying for a Copa America, and their message was real, that they were not happy and just be getting through the group. And they already had their eyes on winning this quarterfinal, which speaks to, I think, the maturity on and off the pitch. And I'll go on the pitch briefly because, as I mentioned it in my hit, you guys have covered it as well at length. As we continue to, do it on this channel, putting our arms around this tournament, the growth and maturity of this group on the field in those environments to step up. And yes, okay, the red cards have gone the other team the other way, but I'll reiterate that Canada played a part in ensuring that the other team got those red cards and that they didn't. It wasn't just that they got lucky. They helped them by understanding that and watching how the referee is refereeing and all of that. Game management is a crucial element of success, and they've had it in spades so far, Jordan.
I think that's what I said on our show the next day. Like, that's the thing that stands out more than anything is their ability to play in games like this and not look out of place, KJ. Like, I keep on saying, it's very hard to break down what they're doing from a tactical or technical perspective, but it's the mentality, the emotion that they're just rising to the challenge and seem very much in the right place right now.
I think a big thing I noticed too, just even the life of playing and you looking at players, when I saw their face at the end of the match, of course you saw some players that were spent and they were on the ground, but just their mannerism, like, we're not finished. Like, we have more to give. And I know that with this team, the way that they press and the way that they're running, it's a lot of work that you really have to do. But then you're going into quarterfinals against Venezuela. You know that they scored 6 goals in 3 games. It's a bit different than Canada, and they will give Canada some hard times. But just look on their faces. It seems like they're prepared for it in a way. So Friday, I'm excited to see just how far this team could really go. But it's a huge step for them.
Yeah. KJ, anything to add on that?
No, I would just say that, I think it's, before we break down the opponent, it's just brilliant to continue this conversation. We've had the match night now, what is it, we're in our 12th week, where we've gone from, is Canada going to hire someone? Who will they hire?
When will they hire
him? Will they get him before Copa America? Oh, now they have. Oh, then they've got.
I lost faith, man.
Do you know? Like
I did. I lost faith.
You know, I think it's 7 weeks today that Jesse Marsch was hired.
Incredible.
Just think about that for a second, and just think about how fast this storyline has gone, and how we need to embrace that, because international football is fleeting in times when these moments come, right? And so with the Euros on, I know that Canada's getting behind these teams, and I just think that, you know, I'm going on for a bit of a tangent, but it's just so sad that some Major League Soccer teams were playing at the same time, where we're asking Canadian fans to be divided and go watch these teams at home. The whole nation needs to be behind this country if we're going to continue to get behind this wonderful team and this great group of individuals. And the more people that can watch it, the more people that can put money behind it and buy shirts and celebrate that and get ready for 2026, they're all tiny building blocks forward for building a culture in the sport in this country.
Yeah, my expectation wasn't that they would get through the group, but I'm so happy they are, so we can continue this conversation. The fans can continue to have that experience. And most importantly, the players stay together for another week, building towards a knockout round game, something that they're going to need to simulate somehow over the course of the next 2 years without playing in major competitions. Like, these are the games that absolutely matter. So let's hear from Jesse Marsch and his approach to the knockout round fixtures that Canada will be heading into.
You know, as much as I know that we will score more goals and need to score more goals, the focus will continue to be strong defensively, because I think the way in knockout football that you move on is to not give much away. And so, you know, we'll continue to be aggressive in our own way, and we'll continue to press teams and counter press teams and with the ball play confidently. But certainly there will be an emphasis on not giving anything away. And the more that we can keep games tight, I think the more that we'll give our attacking players chances to make the difference in the match, and we'll eliminate Max from having to make too many saves and too many moments that get a little crazy. You know, every match has been an away match for us. And so we've had to stay stable. We've had to stay confident. And in moments when teams are throwing a lot at us, we've been mature and we've stayed strong. And you know, after the Peru game, I said we bent, but we didn't break. And I think in general, that's been a really good part of what we've been able to accomplish in a lot of difficult environments, weather, opponents. Like, there's been a lot that you could say has been against us, but we haven't focused on that. We focused on our personal development, making sure that we're organized, that we're disciplined, that we're aggressive, that we play the way we want to play, and we've been rewarded for it. And so we're going to continue to try to push the envelope in terms of what we can get out of that.
Well said from Marsch right there. Here's the 5 games under his watch. Yes, only 1 goal scored, but he alluded to the fact that 8 halves that they've played, 8 of the 10 halves of football that they played, they haven't conceded. And he even said that the defensive play has surprised him because he thought the attacking side of things would have come along much quicker. How do you rate the performance, or how Marsch has fared in the job thus far, Jordan?
Yeah, I don't want to give him grades. This is reminding me of school, but he would be up there. Like, it would be an A for me.
No school in July, bud.
Yeah,
but like, we're free. I've been in school for years, but we're free, baby. Summer's here. Look, you have to give him a high score, just because there's identity with this squad. We've always known about talent going forward. Yeah, okay, but everyone's on the same page. And for me, that's how I always judge a manager, especially in 2024, is can you get the best player and the 24th man all on the same page, working hard together. I like what he's done. It's not easy to come in with a team that already knows each other. You have to come into a country that you don't really know. Yes, he's been and he's coached here, but it's just different when it comes to national team football. But everyone's on the same page. They're running for each other. They're working for each other. That should be the base, and that has been the base for Canada. So for me, I give him tremendous respect for the start.
KJ?
It's been nothing short of brilliant. It has to be said. You know, the concern was that when he took the job and the list of fixtures were what we've just seen, that the concern was that it could have gone the wrong way despite him, right? It could have gone the wrong way. And at that point, suddenly then maybe a little bit of doubt starts to creep in internally and externally, even though, you know, oh, well, we played hard opponents. We didn't really ask for these games this early. Despite all of that, they've overcome that and then some as well, right? So I think it's been a brilliant start to his campaign that will now build foundations of trust and reference points going forward that the players know, okay, he did this then, I've had this now, I remember what he did then, and all of that. And so I think there's been, as I said, it's been almost perfect to start with. There's lots of signs that I see there that I like what he does. I think he's a really good listener, and the players understand that and respect that. I think he's a bit of a reluctant hero. And what I mean by that is some people would say that he enjoys the spotlight, but I think he understands that more of his players need to be in that spotlight publicly.
Yeah.
We need to hear more from them. He knows that. We need to hear more. They need to be the heroes. This is about the players, and he is just trying to let them and be the facilitator of them being the heroes. And I think he wants that, which is really good. We cannot have Jesse Marsh be the face of Canada soccer from now until 2026. That needs to be a list of guys, and everyone knows who they are, by the way. They're all playing. And so the players need to be the ones who speak more and become the heroes in this country as we continue to build to the greatest sporting competition that will be held here in 26.
I just think he's been a breath of fresh air, and a much-needed one at the right time when the program seemed like it would go one way or the other, and things are clearly moving in a positive direction based upon results. You're right, KJ, it's the players that do it on the field, and some of them have been absolutely outstanding just in terms of their work rate, commitment, and their overall level of play. Who specifically, KJ, has caught your eye?
Well, we're going to get into the back line shortly, so I kind of moved away from that. I want to talk for a little bit about Stefan Eustáquio, because playing in a midfield 2 against these teams is not easy. It is not easy. And, you know, I think, you know, we've seen a different side to him a little bit, where the amount of defensive work that he puts in, the ability to kill the game dead, sometimes take 10 seconds at the momentum of the opponent. His passing range has been exceptional. And I think, you know, his commitment to the cause we should never doubt. But physically, how he came into this summer with hardly playing any games. We know personally the tragedies that he's gone through as well. The ability for him to mentally turn it on and physically reach new levels that I did not expect him to do, having not played many minutes for Porto, has exceeded my expectations once again for this midfield general.
Just to piggyback, the warrior spirit. They're the intangibles, right? Everyone's talking about Canada maybe going forward. Off of throw-ins, the ball's cut back, and you have to do a 20-yard sprint. Not a jog, and I've been on the better end of that. If you jog, they score. You have to sprint and help out your back 3,
He's
back 4.
covered so much space
and
defensively.
he does it every single time. And I say that those are the intangibles because you don't look at it, right? You're watching the game, you see everything else moving, but for him, you never doubt his commitment.
What about you?
For me, Cornelius. Years past, you would look at him and you'd look at him on the bench, or you'd look at him maybe playing and be like, decent. For me, he's been outstanding. Looking at the center back position, the way Jesse Marsh has a high line pressing, you're isolated. For me, the years that I've played, you want help. If you're playing center back, left center back, you want your left back tucked in a little bit just in case. You want your CDM, your Eustáquio maybe just helping you in screening some passes. Bombito and Cornelius, but we'll just talk about Cornelius especially, is on an island at times. 1v1, if that guy turns you, you're off to the races, and Canada are getting burned. And he handles that situation with class and prestige more times than he doesn't. I think it's very difficult to do. Also coming in where you haven't played and you have to lead a back line, and I think Canada have needed someone to say, this is my moment, I want to do that. And you see him growing more and more each game.
Just really quickly, I mean, Moise Bombito's the guy for me. Like
he's there
the
too.
heir apparent to Steven Vittoria. You're wondering who's going to come into this position. He's been playing professional football now for like what, just over a year, and he stepped right in. I don't think people understand how difficult it is to play on a yellow card that you pick up in the 7th minute in an atmosphere like that, KJ. The maturity that it requires, the fact he was still winning all those 50-50 challenges, aerial attack, like he did everything. He has blown me away how good he's been in difficult spots. The question is, okay, can this continue? Can this last? Because those areas, I mean, Kamal Miller's come in at center back for a spell. Jonathan Osorio started ahead of Ismail Kone last game. Do they need a little bit more depth in those areas? Like, what do you make? Is this sustainable from this group?
Yeah, you need depth. I mean, well, I'll just talk about the defenders, I guess the center backs. You have Kamal Miller, more than competent to play that left side. I've never liked, and if you ask any coach, they're probably playing 2 left-sided defenders. If Bombito was out for some reason or injury, if you're playing Miller and you're playing Cornelius, maybe it's not the most ideal. Is this a time where you get Luke the Fisher role and you get him some games or get him captain and playing from the start? They need a right center back to say things politely. Bombito is doing it, but like I said, this is international football. You can't just have one guy, KJ. You need someone else to step up and to be able to play matches, just in case something happens. Someone's injured, or a lack of freshness. You need someone else to step up.
Yeah, look, despite everything we've talked about, I think we'd be kidding ourselves if we didn't think there would be. There's still areas of concern.
For sure.
And areas of challenges. And again, this is externally why I always measure up differently to internally. Internally, everything is confident and they should be fine. But, you know, as I've said, we understand how fast this team has come in a short amount of time. But I do think that Jesse Marsch is undoubtedly more happier than he ever could have imagined 7 weeks ago. And within that, has more players to trust than he actually thought of. Now, suddenly, we went into the back-to-back games in Europe with only one change in goal. How many players can he really trust? Well, suddenly now, he left, as I asked him in the press conference, you left a player who plays now at Marseille and a player into Milan out of the team to play MLS players in those positions, And I think now he's removed Kone and Tejan Buchanan, and they've had the chance to sit back. Does he now go back to the well and look at that? These are all good questions that we have because it means that there's depth.
Well, we have a few days to ponder that. I hope you've been enjoying our Vemos presented by Degree, our full coverage of Copa America right here on One Soccer. We have a day off on Tuesday. How about that, guys? Day off tomorrow, and then we're back on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We worked a long weekend.
Let's hit the beach, Wheels.
It's what everyone wants. Tuesday off.
I like it.
Toonie Tuesday, you and I, the beach, some tacos.
The good old days.
A margarita,
Toonie Tuesday?
maybe.
Come on now.
What's a day off?
Degree. Yeah. KJ, you want to come with us?
We're hitting the beach, KJ.
I'm going to be more tan than you, KJ.
I'm at Forge in the morning for an interview. I'm not sure.
The man's always working.
Hey, let's go somewhere beachy.
I don't like sand.
What? What about Cancun sand? It's so soft. Or maybe Caribbean white sand. Sure. Ooh, Costa Rican sand. It's got
Dolphins.
Costa Rica, then?
Yeah, Costa Rica.
Good choice.
It was all him.
With over 50 sunny destinations to choose from, we have a flight for that.
Power doesn't sound like it used to. The all-electric ID4 with instant acceleration. Electric feels good.
Volkswagen.
Tony Bet. At Tony Bet, get treated like a VIP. Bet on live games with odds on all sorts of sports. That's what you get when you bet with Tony Bet.
What's better than one O Canada O Baby segment here on Canada Day?
Come on.
Two of them, presented by CIBC, and an appropriate day to announce the 18 players who will be representing Canada in the Olympic Games. Here's Bev Priestman's squad. We'll get into just 18. It's crazy. A lot of familiar names and faces, but a few surprises. Olivia Smith, not included in the 22 with the 4 alternates. Some players returning from injury, Sydney Collins, Quinn, Nichelle Prince, all included. Of course, Jesse Fleming is going to try to lead this team to back-to-back gold medal performances at the Olympics. Let's hear from Bev Priestman on some of the thought process behind the decisions were made in naming the 18 players.
So what you have to weigh up as a coach, and this was my biggest question to all of my staff, was how many sort of super subs could you afford to take? And I think that was a critical component. In an 18, you know me, I use my finishers all the time. I don't think there's a game, maybe with an injury once, that I've not used every single finisher. And there's only so many of them roles you can afford to take in an 18. And in many ways, if a 22 gets pulled in, again, how many can you actually take? And there's some players that are better at finishing games. There's some players that are better at starting games. And then if I reflect on Tokyo, which again is very different to the World Cup, we're going into extra time and you put a finisher in the 70th minute and you're thinking, can they see out extra time, or are you subbing the sub? And so there was just a complex sort of way up and working through the different games and what you might see.
So it sounds like specific roles were all important in the decision-making process. What was the biggest surprise to you, and do you understand the thought process, Jordan?
I understand the thought process. I know it's very difficult for Bev Priestman to pick 18. We'll get to that in a minute. But for me, I thought Olivia Smith, the 19-year-old, was more than good enough and competent and brought something different to the team. But I get it. When you look at all the forwards, you're looking at Evelyn Vienne. When I actually think about it deeply, I think that's who maybe beat out Olivia Smith, because it wasn't going to be Prince or Leon or Lacasse. I feel like those were shoe-ins. Janine Becky as well. So these were players that you knew, Heidema, you knew that Bev Priestman knew and trusted. But I guess for me, KJ, the question is a big major tournament. There's only 18 players you can pull from. How do you feel about that? Like, for me, that sounds ludicrous.
I don't feel good about it. I'll start by saying that the Olympic tournament is incredibly flawed when it comes to soccer. It has been for a long time. They try and duplicate what other tournaments do by having a situation where you've got to play group games and then everything through. First of all, a lot of the best teams don't always get there. That makes it also a flawed system. And then you're asking teams to show up with 18 players. I think they're playing 3 games in 7 days, which is lunacy. So an 18-player squad these days, I think, first of all, it's not probably not even good for player health either. 16 outfield players. Think about that. Only 2. I know you've got. So if you have 4 on standby, why don't they just do what they did in Tokyo and just allow those 4 players to be part of the squad? I don't know enough about it. I'll admit I only talk about things I think that I try and put my research into. Maybe it's how many medals you've got, but I tell you what, it's not. It's not money, because Canada Soccer is taking 18 players and they're taking 18 members of staff with that group.
Yeah, it's wild to me. Even from like a practical perspective of how things work, you want to be able to train 11v11. That's the whole reason why you have a 23-player squad with the 3rd goalkeeper. Yeah. Like, that's the thought process behind it, and why you limit it to 18. It's silly. And some important names are then out, and then that affects the decision-making process by the manager in turn.
Outside of the 11v11 wheels, look at it. You have the 2 goalkeepers. What about the day after training? What are you doing with the 6?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing for? We're just doing some ball work. Like, you can't really do possession. You're doing 3v3 possession. Like, what's really happening with that time to really get that team up if you need to make switches and put different clientele into the second match?
Yeah.
I don't want to repeat it. I'll just say I think it's incredibly flawed system, and I would argue that there's not enough countries that get there to represent.
Agreed.
And what's wrong with going there and having a strict knockout cup competition and having more countries there? I don't want to hear people say, well, you don't want to just go for 1 game. Well, welcome to the Olympics. If you're a runner, if you're a swimmer, if you're a gymnast, if you're a weightlifter, it doesn't matter. You can have 1 tournament and you could be out, and then you could have, you have to go on. That's part of the Olympic spirit. So if they try and bring this professionalism from other sporting competitions within the game into the Olympics, for me, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I think the quality suffered at the last Olympics. We ended up celebrating it because Canada inevitably went on to win it, and deservedly so, the work they put in, but the quality of football wasn't great. It gets that much more complicated when you include injured players or players coming off an injury in your 18. Here's Bev Priestman on some of those decisions that had to be made and why she's backing the injured players to be part of the squad.
I think the overall squad decisions came right to the wire, is what I would say. And obviously some sleepless nights and, digging into fitness data, technical, tactical data. And then really a key component of this was we're running them at the moment for out of season players. But, the likes of a Sydney got to attend these hubs, and I got to coach her on the grass and all the rest of it. So I think it did come right to the wire. The Quinn one's sort of ahead of schedule, I would say, than maybe where we thought. But the other 2, come the date that we need them will be ready and available. I think that's the part, and we've got 2 games obviously before. But yeah, absolutely, it did come right to the wire.
Sydney Collins fractured her ankle back in February, hasn't played competitive football since. Quinn and Prince both suffering injuries as of late. She must be confident that these players are going to be ready to go, be full strength.
I mean, from my understanding, I know that Collins and Prince aren't back to full contact yet. This is 25 days from the biggest competition for the women's team in the Olympics, the one that they love outside of the World Cup, obviously.
Biggest of the year.
Yeah, like this is the one Canadian women's soccer. This is the one that they love, they pride themselves on, and they talk about. So for me, like Collins who played left wing back, hasn't played in several months. Prince, Nichelle Prince, I understand her quality going forward, but has been suffering as well. Quinn, you know what they bring in the midfield, but 3 players, Wheels, where you're still questioning if they're going to be 70, 80% what they look like in 25 days. Andy Petrilla and Just Lisi, we talked about all the time when we were covering the game here at One Soccer, and it's just, do you sacrifice a player that's not 100%? I mean, do you bring in someone else and have them, and you know that they have the quality? I think it's the players that are there on the ball, but they do change the complexion of this team. But some questions for Bev Priestman. I think she's gambling a little bit going into this Olympics.
So perhaps, Zadorsky, Carl, some of these players could find their way back into the mix, but that's why you have those players in those alternate spots. Like, look, like Bev has to get this right. They're not sneaking up on anyone. They're gold medalists, and last summer at the World Cup was a disaster.
Yes.
So there will be expectations this time around. 24 days from now, 25 days from now, Canada, New Zealand on the 25th, and we're off and running. Canada at the Olympic Games. We cannot wait to see Canada go out and try to defend that gold medal. The best and worst of the week is coming up next, right here on Match Night.
Canadian soccer fans, we're different. We cheer on the Reds while cheering out our motherlands and each other's lands. Soccer is in our hearts. Our roots are on display. Not to divide, but to unite. Because to us, soccer's more than just a game. It's who we are. From coast to coast to coast, it connects us all. Cheers to us. Cheers to the game.
This ultimate mouth-watering moment is brought to you by the big, bold, ultimate taste of Ultimate Chicken Hot Dogs, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
For sport, played with our feet. Funny how lending a hand takes us further together.
Gatorade, with electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing.
I do this for my town, my time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
Degree 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree keeps working when others stop.
All right, it's a Canada Day best and worst of the week, so I'm expecting fireworks here, guys. Let's go rapid fire through it. Luka Gavrin, I mean, everyone's seen this clip now. The Toronto FC young goalkeeper from Hamilton, he's had a really good season.
Great season.
This is a really bad moment, 97th minute. Look at the player just hanging out behind him.
Look at his teammates,
That's
though.
what it is.
They think the game's over.
Can his teammates kind of like take some responsibility?
You're blaming the teammates?
I think they're partially to blame.
Really?
Partially.
I hear you, but if I'm the goalkeeper, I need to know what's around me.
Of course.
For sure.
We're not absolving him.
But like, yeah,
Robbie Keane scored a goal like that in the Prem for Spurs. I know that. I've seen that before. So it's not as if we haven't seen it before.
No,
it's
for
a
sure.
tough moment.
Everyone's heads down. Look, I've done a lot of things wrong in my career, but one thing I would say, off of corners, I'd say one behind you. To the keeper, just so they know. Just so you know, and then you could step up, and you could tell your keeper and inform them. It's still his fault, but you can help.
I feel
you can help out a
It's
little
really
bit.
tough.
Yeah.
And that moment of the match, you don't get another opportunity to try and get you. It's done. The whistle went too, so it didn't didn't get to make a big save or anything afterwards. It's sad.
Instead of mocking, put your arm around him. I mean, this happens, and he's a good young Canadian goalkeeper. So keep your chin up, Luka. You know, you have a bright future ahead of you. Brian White is back, everyone. Player of the week, player of the match day, match week. I don't know what Major League Soccer calls it. That's an unreal goal right there. Scored a hat trick in Vancouver's 4-3 victory over St. Louis. We've been waiting for this. Look at this kid. Nice little touch there.
He meant it?
You don't think he meant it? Maybe he just tried to go to himself over the top?
He
Give him credit.
100% meant it.
That's a finish.
No, he 100% meant it, for sure. You could see it. He even did one of these.
Yeah. He's not going to the All-Star game. Ryan Gauld is, Federico Bernardeschi is, Mathieu Chouanier is. KJ Taken, All-Star being announced in Canadian markets on Canada Day.
Come on, what are we doing? You guys have heard me say this already. What are we doing?
Woosah, my friend.
Would they announce MLS All-Stars
They
on
would
July
not.
4th?
No, they absolutely
It's
wouldn't.
Canada Day. It's a special day. It's a holiday. We want to get more people celebrating these people. Well, I don't think it's...
I will also say there are teams in this league that have made player announcements on like a Friday night at like 7 p.m. So nothing surprises me.
You love your All-Star games, though.
All-Star games are for two groups of people, children and sponsors. That's it. I could care less about an All-Star game. And the MLS All-Star game is better than most, but it's still an All-Star game, so it's still rubbish.
Hilarious.
Ismael Kone and Alfonso Davies dancing. I'm not sure. This is from Richie Lorea's Instagram. That Chile, I'm not sure what that means, but these are some sweet moves. Celebrating sweet.
Let's not mention it on air. Let's just talk about the moves.
Okay.
That they won.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not our fault. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not me at all. I honestly don't even know what it means.
Some great moves, though.
Oliver Platt put this in. We love the account at no context. This account on Twitter showed Alistair Johnston's face after the result that saw them move on. And whenever we can get Alistair Johnston in Best and Worst of the Week, we do.
Yes.
That's what he said right there. That's a little bit of a growl.
He should have been named after this segment. He's the one who started it in the first place. He looks like he's on a night out in Glasgow, doesn't he?
Yes. That was my exact face when VAR got involved in Denmark and Germany.
well done,
this
Wheeler.
has just been an absolute shambles.
What is offside?
Look at this.
What is offside?
His baby toe, Jordan.
Baby toe. It's too long. Like, what is happening?
And people will say, well, this is the laws of the game. Technically, he's offside.
Nonsense.
This is not the spirit of the
Nonsense.
game.
It's also, how can you actually make an absolute perfect science when the ball leaves the opposition, the opponent, the foot that leads to the offside? We keep seeing these. How do you know exactly
when the ball comes
off the foot to play the pass? Once it gets to this, you cannot actually do it. You can't.
We are killing this beautiful game that we all love with this nonsense.
It's
Like,
a great goal.
What are we doing?
In a knockout round match at Euros.
Can't talk
I've had enough of that. Finally, also my Alistair Johnston face. It was my birthday yesterday.
Happy
And
birthday,
Andy
bro.
Petrello and Jordan Wilson wanted to surprise me on the show with some confetti. But look at their execution here. I was kind of surprised. I was wondering what was happening,
It was poor.
what it was leading
it
to.
bad? It was bad.
Here was
It was
yesterday
a
on
low
Venlos, presented by Degree.
Low light for sure.
Should have scored 2 straight games.
Don't say we don't love you, Wheels.
Love you, buddy.
Happy birthday, buddy.
What is this?
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to end the show on... You know what? Canada's moving on. Canada's... What is this?
I'm still alive.
I'm scared. I don't know what this is going to do to me.
Buddy.
I can't open it. You open it. See something...
Pop it that way, Trills.
What was that like? Thank you for the happy birthday.
Andy Pacheco was a lot worse than me. I was okay. I'll give her
confetti
C plus. She was an F.
C plus.
What are you giving me?
That's a pathetic attempt to try to. Where's the budget come from to sign those the birthday celebrations?
There's a malfunction with the poppers. I try to, hey, something happened, buddy, and I just have to throw it.
Look like you thought about it at the last minute, to be honest.
No, don't do that. Don't do that,
Jay. Hitting the nail on the head. That was it. They don't really care that's my birthday whatsoever.
My guy, I love you.
They don't care.
I love you.
Canada's birthday cool. Wheelers? Yeah.
You're my guy, Wheelers.
Not so much. We'll break down the Euros next. We'll see if Jordan's a little bit more enthusiastic about that here on Match Night. Worst birthday surprise ever.
Tony Bet.
At Tony Bet, get treated like a VIP. Bet on live games with odds on all sorts of sports. That's what you get when you bet with
Tony Bet.
Hey, let's go somewhere beachy. I don't like sand. What? What about Cancun sand? It's so soft. Or maybe Caribbean white sand. Sure. Ooh, Costa Rican sand. It's got dolphins.
Costa Rica, then?
Yeah, Costa Rica.
Good choice.
It was all him.
With over 50 sunny destinations to choose from, we have a flight for that.
Do we really have any choice at all?
Everyone has a choice, and every choice has a consequence.
Which do you choose?
Life's full of tough choices, isn't it?
How do you choose?
Gatorade. With electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing.
I do this for my town, my time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
Canadian soccer fans, we're different. We cheer on the Reds while cheering out our motherlands and each other's lands. Soccer is in our hearts. Our roots are on display. Not to divide, but to unite. Because to us, soccer's more than just a game. It's who we are. From coast to coast to coast, it connects us all. Cheers to us. Cheers to the game.
Degree, 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree, keeps working when others stop.
This is the final score presented by Tony Bet. Here's how things look ahead in the schedule, the Canadian Premier League for match week 13. Remember, you can win $100,000 or a trip to the 2024 Canadian Premier League final by playing Tony Bet's CPL Predictor. Visit predictor.canpl.ca for more info. Some really good games next weekend in the Canadian Premier League. It'll also be the finals of the Euros, which will go on next weekend. We'll see who manages to get there. Spain, Germany, and Stuttgart upcoming. England, Switzerland, and then we got France, Portugal survived in penalties against Slovenia. KJ, what's the biggest story? What's catching your eye? What's catching your attention?
Well, Germany and Spain, the best two teams playing head-to-head. And I just feel like whenever you're trying to pick a winner of these tournaments, often the best team isn't always right now. And you've got Portugal, England, and France all playing pretty poorly and dull and still surviving. So wouldn't be surprised. I did pick Germany before the start, but
you did.
Don't sleep on those teams that are putting everyone else to sleep right now.
It's how teams rise to the big moments, right? And look, for me, England dodged the bullet, but I'm kind of liking them going forward. I really am. I think their pathway also favors them as well. I think they could do something.
Jude Bellingham, that was just an unreal moment.
Unreal. We watched it together, buddy.
And like iconic, Cristiano Ronaldo in tears on the field, and then missed penalty, then steps up and makes one.
Mentally, that was brilliant.
It was just incredible to watch. 2 more games to go, by the way, on Tuesday. Romania, Netherlands, Austria, Turkey. Come on, Austria. I need Austria. For reasons I don't feel like disclosing, I need Austria to beat Turkey tomorrow.
I wonder why.
Telfer with the winner for Halifax Wanderers. They beat Cavalry 1-0. It was our Tony Bet Match of the Week.
Happy Canada Day, boys.
Happy Canada Day, guys.
Love you, Canada.
KJ and Jordan on Wheels. Happy Canada Day, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.